Can your child do this? Well, if you want to know why it's really important that they're able to, then stick around. Hey there, welcome back to Pediatric Therapy Essentials. My name is Dr. Heather Sossaman, and I'm a pediatric physical therapist. In today's video, we're going to be talking about pattern skills. We're going to talk about what pattern skills are, why it's really important that kids are able to follow patterns, and some fun and simple ways that you can work on pattern skills at home with your child. Now, I've timestamped everything in this video, so feel free to jump around. All of that information is down in the description box. All right, let's dive in. So pattern skills are pretty much what they sound like. They're your child's ability to follow or create a pattern. And as a pediatric physical therapist, most of the pattern skills that I work on are your child's ability to physically follow a pattern. So something like clap your hands, touch your nose, touch your head. And as simple as those three commands together sound like, they can actually be really difficult. So in order for a child to follow a movement pattern, they have to have several basic skills on hand in order to create that pattern. Now, each of these topics that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to give you a brief definition, but if you'd like a more detailed description, I have created several videos on most of these topics, and I will link the videos up here as well as down in the description box. So first and foremost, children have to have the physical ability to move through the movement pattern. So they have to have enough strength and they have to have enough movement in their joints in order to create the pattern. Number two is proprioception. So that's our understanding of where our body is in space. So if I pick my hand up like this with my eyes closed, I know without looking at it exactly where my hand is because I have good body awareness and good proprioception. Number three is coordination. So coordination is our ability to move different parts of our body together smoothly and efficiently. And we need that in order to follow a movement pattern. Number four is working memory. So that's our short-term memory that allows us to store bits of information in order to complete a task in front of us. And working memory is one of our executive function skills, and it's incredibly important for so many different areas of our life. Number five is directionality or direction skills. So kids have to have an understanding of what things like up, down, left, right, over, and under mean in order to follow a pattern. And finally, they have to have good visual and auditory processing. So that means that they can take in information from the environment, either through their eyes, visual, or their ears, auditory, take that information into their brain, process it, and understand what kind of motor output they need to do. So, now that we're looking at all these different skills, we can understand why following a pattern might be really challenging for kids at first. So if pattern skills can be such a challenge, why does it matter long term that children are able to do this and follow these patterns? Well, first and foremost, by working on strength and range of motion and things like that, it helps us maintain our muscles for long-term fitness. Number two, proprioception. When we understand where our body is in space and we've practiced that skill, then we're able to do things like walk through a crowded hallway without bumping into people, with knowing where everybody is and maybe able to make our way through that crowded situation without falling, tripping, or hurting ourselves. Next, coordination. Our ability to move different parts of our body together smoothly and efficiently is really important for lots of the leisure and fun activities that children do. So if they want to participate in swimming, dancing, sports, play a musical instrument, play games with their friends, ride bikes, all of those activities require coordination. Next, we have working memory. And I think we can all understand that working memory is incredibly important for pretty much every aspect of education and learning. So the ability to keep information right up front in our short-term memory is required to do things like reading, math, spelling, social studies, and science. Next, we have directionality. In order for us to drive a car or know how to get from our classroom to the music room, we have to have a good understanding of what direction words mean and how to follow directions. And finally, we have visual and auditory processing. Most of us take in information from the environment through our eyes and our ears. They are a huge component of how we get information. So our ability to take the information in, process it, and understand what motor output we need to create is really important. Okay, now that we've got the basics down, let's get to the fun stuff, which is how we can work on these skills at home. I do want to start off with one little caveat before I give you my activities, and that is I am a pediatric physical therapist, and physical therapists from time to time can get a bad rap for pushing people pretty hard to try to get the desired outcomes. And we earn that reputation sometimes. We can really push. That's kind of our job, and we're doing it because we care about you and we know the outcome that you're going to be able to achieve, and we believe in you. With pattern skills, though, I tend to treat it a little bit differently than things like strengthening and coordination. I am going to be a little bit more gentle with this activity because I don't want the child to get frustrated. Pattern skills require a lot cognitively from a child as well as motorically, and that can lead to frustration kind of quickly. So when I'm doing this activity, I'm definitely going to push and help the child get to their best ability level, but when I see frustration peek its head out, I am probably going to back off and let them see success. Because at the end of the day, my whole purpose is to help a child move forward while they feel successful. Because if they feel like they worked really hard and they didn't achieve anything, then they're not going to want to come back and do it again. So I want them to know that I see their work, I appreciate their work, I'm going to push them, but I'm also going to make sure that they're successful. Okay, now let's dive into the activities. Number one on my list is simply to practice following patterns. But how do we do this without frustrating kids, right? The way that I do it is I begin with a 2-command pattern that is a movement within the same category. So I might start off with things like touch your eyes, touch your nose, right? All body parts. Or stomp your foot, clap your hands. 2 things that are kind of in the same movement type category that go together. So I'm going to do the pattern for them, I'm going to visually show them, and then I'm going to verbally tell them the pattern as I'm doing it. So they get both forms of input from me. I'm also going to do it in a very rhythmic fashion. So I have a pretty extensive background in music. I played an instrument all through college, and I know that when I provide cues to kids in a very rhythmic pattern over and over, it's a lot easier for them to take in the information and process it. So I'm going to do 2 commands, same category, and I'm going to do it very rhythmically. Once they've mastered that, I'm going to ask them to give me a pattern. Right? Because I not only want them to follow, but I want them to be able to recognize what a pattern is and ask me to do it. And they think that's really fun because they can stump me and do all those fun things. Don't be surprised when they first give you a pattern that they give you the same one back. That's okay, because they haven't quite figured out how to do it yet, but over time and with practice, they'll start to come up with some really fun patterns. Once they've mastered 2, I'm going to go to 3 commands, and then once they've mastered that, I'm going to start to give different kinds of commands, right? So I might do touch your eyes and jump, 2 different categories. Touch your eyes, touch your knees, spin around, things like that. And finally, I'm going to do activities that require one side of the body, right? So snap your finger, touch your knee. So that's 2 different sides of the body doing different things. Or even crossing over, right? Touch your shoulder, clap your hands. Those are all more difficult ways to follow a pattern. Once they get the hang of all that, I'm going to start to come back on my cues, right? So I may only show them the pattern, or I may only tell them the pattern and only give them one form of information that then they have to follow, which is much more difficult cognitively. So if coming up with all of these patterns sounds a little bit challenging, for the next 3 Saturdays after this week, I'm going to put out some videos that do just that. My son Connor and I have been working on these videos for the past few weeks, and these are all different levels of pattern following videos. So the first week we're going to have level 1. It's going to be very rhythmic, very slow, lots of cues. Week 2, it's going to be a little bit faster, a few more movements, and then by level 3, I'm going to back off on the cues and make it a little bit more difficult. So be sure to come back and check out those videos over the next few weeks. Okay, if you don't want to use videos, there are several different games and activities that you can do as well. Number 1, songs. Things like head, shoulders, knees, and toes, and hokey pokey are a great way to work on pattern skills. Second, games. Things like Twister and Simon Says are all great ways to learn patterns. And if you're simply in the house, maybe doing chores on a Saturday, you can give your child a list of activities that you need them to do. Like, go shut the door, get the laundry out of the dryer, and bring me your water bottle. That's a little bit complex, but you get the idea. So 3 different things they have to store in their working memory and then go do. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I hope you learned something new about patterns. Don't forget that all of the videos I talked about today will be listed down in the description box below, as well as linked to my website and my social media. And if you are interested in those pattern videos, be sure to come back for the next 3 Saturdays to check out those new videos. And I am going to do a quick shameless plug. If you're looking for some cool t-shirts for back to school, I have these amazing shirts in my Etsy shop, all different kinds of inclusion type t-shirts as well as therapy based t-shirts for PT, OT, and speech. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Saturday for some pattern work. Bye!